Musou games are a genre that people either love or hate, though the general consensus is that it is for people who are completely inept and can't play hard games like Ninja Gaiden 2 and God Hand. For anyone who has an ounce of skill at video games, they are boring button mashers that put people to sleep. Then you have the other side of the coin, people who play Musou games for completion, to have a checklist of things to do so that they have something to kill time with and get 100% on every single Musou, because let's be honest here, Musou game achievements aren't usually all that hard to get, they're just tedious to get, but some people are crazy enough that they're willing to max out everything. Then you have the old guard who have played Dynasty Warriors 2, 3 and 4 back in the day, who enjoyed the fact that archers will rape you in seconds, then complain that the newer entries in the series are too easy and they need to make the game stupidly difficult again. Those same people will still play the modern, easier Musous regardless, but they will always go on and on about how the older games are better and the newer games are complete and utter shit. So which camp do I come into? Well, I can safely say that it's none of the three camps I described. For me, Musou games are just a way to get a feeling of progression without having to pay close attention to the game I'm playing. I play Musou games to relax, and usually I only play them for the main story since I often have a huge backlog of games to play, so I don't have time to 100% complete these games. Now I have played games like God Hand and Ninja Gaiden 2 and beaten both of them on normal. Are those games more technical than Musou games? Absolutely. But do I want to play these games to relax? Absolutely not. These games require 100% of my attention and demand dexterity, whereas modern Musou games are rather lenient in regards to that sort of thing. Though old school Musous are anything but easy, completely debunking the myth that Musou games are for people who suck at video games and want an easy button masher, as games like Devil Kings and Dynasty Warriors 3 are insanely hard, and not in a good way, as they don't have the mechanics that games like God Hand and Ninja Gaiden 2 have that makes the difficulty fun and reasonable, since you will often end up dying due to being unlucky as opposed to not being good at the game, which is why many Musou games these days are easy, and quite frankly, I don't have a problem with it. If I want a challenge, I'll go play the more challenging games like Devil May Cry 3, Ninja Gaiden 2 and God Hand, because those games will always find a way to get me to sweat as I play them. That being said, the older Musou games aren't all bad. I mean, Samurai Warriors 2 has a pretty good balance of not being stupidly hard, while also not being a cakewalk either, though you will still get frustrated at times playing it, particularly when you are on a mission you haven't played before and you fail due to one of the AI officers dying, but that's something that happens in every Warriors game. Besides Empires, of course. I absolutely adore playing Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires, even though I'm well aware that it's just a dumb Musou that reuses all the assets from Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends and throws in a lackluster strategy game over it, and that's mainly because of the creation features. But I also like the simplicity of playing Empires, since you're basically just capturing bases and mowing down enemies as well as officers along the way. It's not the most refined gameplay experience, but it's at the very least a relaxing one, as you don't have to worry about any complex fail conditions like in the base entries and Extreme Legends. All you have to worry about is your main camp, so you can go nuts without having to worry too much. Another Musou-esque game I enjoy is Sengoku Basara. This franchise takes everything that Warriors does well and focuses on improving it while getting rid of all of the fluff. Unlike Warriors games, Basara is actually rather technical, as it features a free-flowing combo system that lets you mix up different attacks to rack up the hits, as opposed to the cancel combo system that all the Warriors games use. Those who actually enjoy the cancel combo system will enjoy playing as Geiji Maeda, who not only has free-flowing combos, but part of what makes him unique is that one of his attack strings has cancels. You see, Sengoku Basara does a fantastic job at making every single character feel unique, sort of like how each character in Star Ocean the Divine Force has their own unique quirks. You have a character who lays traps, characters who switch weapons for different attack modes, a character that glides into the air, and a character who can summon giant shadowy hands to fight for them. It really brings a lot more variety to the combat, and despite the lack of features offered by the Basara franchise, it has considerably more replay value due to the considerably more varied playstyles as opposed to Warriors, which relies on throwing tons of new features at you to keep you playing. I think both franchises have their place though, as the features that Warriors games have give them a unique appeal that Basara can't deliver, but Basara, at its core, is an overall better core gameplay experience. Despite being known as the type of person that demonizes modern games, I actually tend to find myself playing more modern Musou entries as opposed to their older counterparts. They feel a lot more feature-rich and not stupidly difficult. I think part of the appeal of modern Musou games is that I know going into it what I'm getting. Sure, it's just another mediocre, sloppy iteration, but it's at least one that I know I'm going to find some enjoyment out of, as long as I'm in the mood for it, and it isn't stupidly overpriced. Am I fine with paying $49.99 for a Musou game day one? Absolutely not. Koei Tecmo's pricing is absolutely bonkers, but would I buy a Musou game on sale? Absolutely, if I'm in the mood to play it, that is. I think Musou games have become the only games that interest me in regards to modern gaming, and even then, Koei Tecmo seem to have found ways to fuck them up in more recent years, with Dynasty Warriors 9 being a disaster and Samurai Warriors 5 being full of clones. Perhaps the boom period for Musou games was in the 2010s, which may seem shocking coming from a guy who tends to favour games in the 2000s, constantly trashing on the 2010s as being the downfall of gaming, but even at their best, Musou games in the 2000s can't possibly compete with games like Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires, Samurai Warriors 4, and the newer Sengoku Basara games, as they lack the improvements that these games made. Samurai Warriors 4 gave us hyper attacks to speed up the pace of the combat, Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires gave us a crap ton of customizability, and the more modern Sengoku Basara entries brought more technicality to the combat systems. That's not to say that these 2000s games don't have unique features of their own, as Samurai Warriors 2 has Sugaroku, and an arguably superior skill system than Samurai Warriors 4 to name an example. There are also features completely lost to time, particularly in the Warriors games like character-specific storylines to name an example, but games released in the 2010s like Sengoku Basara 3 still feature them. The only other thing that has been lost from Musous in the 2010s is difficulty, and I'm okay with that, as I never wanted Musou games to be challenging anyway. I only want Musou games to be kinetically empowering, and they do a fantastic job at that. Not to mention the fact that Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires has a crap ton of personalisation on top of that. In that regard, it's a match made in heaven, and that's why I play Musou games, because it gives me most of what I want. Is it going to give me exploration or mastery? Absolutely not. The stages, while colourful and flashy in the more modern entries, tend not to interest me from an aesthetic standpoint, and I think that these games aren't really supposed to make you care about that sort of thing anyway. There's plenty of games that offer exploration, and Musou games are definitely not those types of games. That being said, I still enjoy a good Musou game every now and again. I just can't play them all the time, or I will get bored, but sometimes you just get those cravings for a Musou, and that's why I play them.